Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday, October 3rd, 2025. Born on this date, we have a lot of birthdays today. Born on this date in 1790, Principal Chief of the Cherokee Nation John Ross of Turkeytown, which is now at the bottom of Weiss Lake. In 1854, former Surgeon General of the U.S. Army William Gorgas of Toulminville. He did groundbreaking work on yellow fever and malaria by controlling mosquito populations. In 1944, former Governor Bob Riley of Ashland. And in 1964, radio host Rick Burgess, who was born in Birmingham and grew up in Oxford. Today, we're going to have politics reporter Mike Kaysen join us to talk a little more about next year's U.S. Senate race, with particular focus on the possibility of Paul Finebaum joining in on the fun. First, we have Dr. Gene Marazzo's firing, a really, really old crab that's named after a retired football coach, where Rock the South is going, and the percentage of Alabamians who identify as Christians. As always, you can leave us your Alabama hot take at 205-304-1814. Any topic. I'm kind of curious how folks feel about these sports figures such as Finebaum and Bruce Pearl, and even Tommy Tuberville leaning into politics. That's 205-304-1814. My name's Ike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama. Dr. Gene Marazzo is claiming she was fired as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases for filing a whistleblower complaint against the Trump administration, reports AL.com's Patrick Darrington. Marazzo is the infectious disease expert who left UAB to replace Anthony Fauci at the NIAID. She was placed on leave in April, and her lawyer alleged that was because she had raised concerns internally about the actions of some Trump appointees. She filed a complaint September 4th to claim that NIH officials were involved in the, quote, cancellation of several critical research grants, the politicization of scientific research, and the baseless hostility toward vaccinations, ignoring scientific evidence demonstrating their safety and effectiveness, end quote. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. fired her in a letter this week. Said Marazzo in a statement, quote, my termination, unfortunately, shows that the leaders of HHS and the National Institutes of Health do not share my commitment to scientific integrity and public health, end quote. If you could name a new species, how would you go about it? I mean, would you pull in local geographic names, or maybe honor the person who made the discovery or someone who funded the project? Would you make it as descriptive as possible, using Latin words that reflect the creature's number of legs or body shape? Well, AL.com's Heather Gann reports that when researchers at the University of Alabama had a crab to name, they took the obvious route and named it the Sabin crab. Now, officially, its name is, and, don't make fun of me here, Costacopluma nixabini. At least that's how I would say it. Dr. Adil Klompmaker said that they chose to honor Saban because of his well-known legacy coaching the Crimson Tide football teams, and also his Knicks Kids Foundation, which supports organizations that are dedicated to children's causes. The Sabin crab's fossil was found among shrimp fossils at a Lowndes County site. The researchers say it lived along the seafloor 65 million years ago. Now, that dating is significant because it's believed that a mere 600,000 or so years earlier, a big meteor struck near Mexico and caused a massive worldwide extinction event, killing off many species, including non-avian dinosaurs. In all, 8 kinds of crustaceans were found at this site in Lowndes County. The researchers said that makes it a unique discovery, dating that close to the extinction event. Rock the South is moving just a little farther north, reports AL.com's Mary Colurso. The music festival that spent 14 years in Cullman will be held June 11th through the 13th in Decatur. The site is called The Fields, which, according to festival organizers, will be owned by Peachtree Entertainment. They explained that now they'll be able to invest in long-term infrastructure on the site. The popular festival spun off a series of music festivals over the past couple years called Rock the Country. And a Pew Research Center study found that among the 50 states, Alabama has the highest percentage of people who identify as Christians, reports AL.com's Greg Garrison. The number's a little higher than I would have expected. According to the survey, 89% of Alabamians say they're Christians. That beats Louisiana's 87% and Mississippi's 85%. The state with the lowest percentage of people identifying as Christians was Vermont, with 57%. Pew also used multiple categories to rank the states by just how religious their citizens are. This is a category Alabama has topped before, but ranked 8th this year. Pew based the category on several criteria. How many people say religion is very important in their lives? 51% of Alabamians did. How many people say they pray daily? 50% in Alabama. How many people attend services at least once a month? 44% in Alabama. And how many people believe in God or a universal spirit with absolute certainty? 66% here. Mississippi took the top spot as the most religious state in the union. Hey, folks, we're going to take a quick break, maybe raise a little money so we can keep the lights on around here. We got Mike Kaysen on to talk a little bit about next year's Senate race. Y'all stay with us.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Hey, thanks everybody for staying with us. We've had a little bit of movement in the, well, I don't know if you'd call it movement, potential movement in the race for the U.S. Senate seat that's being vacated by Tommy Tuberville, who, by the way, if you haven't heard about it, is running for governor. And I thought it'd be a great time to bring back to the show state politics reporter Mike Kaysen to tell us what he knows about the situation. Hey, Mike, glad to have you back.
Thanks for having me, Ike. I really appreciate it.
We always enjoy it. Did Paul Finebaum's comments on possibly running for this U.S. Senate seat seem to come out of nowhere for you two?
Yes, it sure did. I never crossed my mind that he would get into politics. You know, I haven't listened to his show in recent years very much, but like most people who follow college sports, I've listened to him off and on over the years many times. So I'm very familiar with him. But yeah, it completely blindsided me.
So I presume there's some level of shock waves. I don't know if it's fear, but there's some shock waves that went through the field of candidates, wouldn't you say?
I would. I haven't talked to either one of them or their campaigns, but yeah, I'm sure they would rather not have to worry about Paul Finebaum getting in this contest, because he would certainly complicate things for them. I'm sure he's got better name idea than any of the two front runners, Steve Marshall or Barry Moore. I mean, I would think so. I hadn't seen any polling on that, but that would be my assumption, that a lot more people know who Paul Finebaum is than those two.
it's such different worlds that it's hard to like easily compare. But yeah, Paul Feinbaum, when he did the statewide sports show, radio show for years, and was a Birmingham Post Herald columnist. I mean,
Yeah, and he, I guess I guess he's kind of at the peak of his name recognition now. When Nick Saban took Alabama to the heights he did, I think Feinbaum's fame probably rose along with that because, you know, part of his
mhm,
a big part of his following is Alabama fans. I mean,
mhm.
that's not entirely, but I'm sure that's helped him. And he's a fixture on ESPN and the SEC network, and he's the go-to guy for college sports.
Yeah, Alabama's rise and recent dynasty sort of paralleled Feinbaum's, rise up the ladder and move to Charlotte to work for ESPN. He seemed to
Yeah,
find fame at the same time.
yeah, yeah. He was well known in Alabama, and among the sports fans anyway. But I remember I think he was just on the AM station in Birmingham like 20 years ago,
Mhm.
WERC. He was his
Mhm.
own jocks at one point, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's been quite an expansion of his fame in the last 20 years. I was listening to a podcast that our John Hammondtree did on Reckon with Feinbaum back during the George Floyd protest and COVID, and
Hmm.
it was about a lot of a lot of it was about how do you draw the line on letting politics come into your show, and Feinbaum, he said some people thought he would should draw the line and not allow political discussion, but he did to some extent, and he said one of the things he said was one thing I won't allow is people just to get on here and spew racism and bigotry. He said it. I'll draw the line on that. I'm not going to allow it. So he has not been afraid to touch on politics on his show, but I think he's always done it strictly on his terms. He's not going to talk about it if he doesn't want to, and but
Hmm.
if he wants to, he will talk about it. Listening to him on and off over the years, that's always been my impression.
Well, he made it sound a little like ESPN actually rubbed him the wrong way in
Yeah,
that area. Can you talk about that?
yeah, but I think is that happened a long time ago. Yeah, he said the 29 before the 2019 LSU Alabama game, which Trump was going to attend in Tuscaloosa. Uh, the network had suggested to him we need to do something big leading up to this, and so he called somebody he knew in Washington and had lined up an interview with Trump on the Thursday morning before the game in the White House. This was during Trump's first term, and
Hmm.
it sounded like it was almost a sure thing. And he said I called my bosses and they killed it. And he said his quote on the Clay Travis show where he disclosed all this was that was a turning point for me. He really didn't elaborate on that, but like I said, that was 6 years ago. So
You, you know, whether you think any given president's a good guy or a bad guy, that's a rough interview to have to turn down.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I don't know why they would have done that,
Yeah,
but
I,
obviously,
I'll.
obviously, but I think he said he was devastated. I think that was the word he used.
It's a big moment in any broadcaster's career. I would presume, especially one who doesn't talk to a whole lot of presidents. But um, I also don't. You're a reporter. You have the president lined up, and you're not taking sides. That's got to be your boss tells you you can't do it. I could see how that could stick with a guy.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
Well, I also don't think it's lost on anybody that Feinbaum just moved to Mountain Brook earlier this year, and you
right.
almost say, "Well, these are is this getting his ducks in a row?" I mean, maybe not because it could just be life changes and all that. and
Yeah.
supposedly the Charlie Kirk thing is the real impetus behind all this, but his running. But moving to Mountain Brook, I mean, that kind of sends us a signal that he's getting his ducks in a row, doesn't it?
Yeah, it could. I wouldn't have thought that was to get into politics, but yeah, I mean that's a kind of reinforces the idea that he's seriously considering it, and I take him at his word. I don't think he's just doing this to have fun with people. That wouldn't make any sense. I mean, he gets plenty of attention already. I don't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't. It's not like he needs more attention, but so I would. I would take him at his word that he's serious about it, and that the Charlie Kirk assassination really did affect him, because I think it affected a lot of people. Well, I know it did, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard from so many people who I know who, whether it's a lot of it was faith based kind of emotions. Maybe Erica had more of an impact than even Charlie did on that her in her moment. But I also want to ask about a recent candidate for this, or not a recent candidate, a recent sports figure who's been who could consider running for that same seat in Bruce Pearl, who is just essentially bowed out of the race. But I'm gonna I want to ask you, is it just me, or did he not technically say he wasn't running? Just kind of implied it.
Uh, I thought he said he was not running.
He said that he had thought and prayed about running for the Senate. And then he said that would have required leaving Auburn. And instead, the university has given me an opportunity to stay here and be Auburn's senator. But he never said he was. I mean, I'm probably being a little silly, but what I'm doing is admiring Pearl's political prowess if he tried to leave that window open a little bit.
I didn't take that as leaving the window open, but you could be right. And
I mean, I think it's been shut. Certainly, he implied strongly enough that it would
yeah.
look bad to come back now. But yeah, and he would probably slap me down if he was here now. But I thought I'd pitch that out there because, um, he did have an opportunity to say, I'm not going to run, and he didn't. But,
He did show some political prowess by the way he let that story linger for months. And
yeah, yeah, you really tested the waters, I would think. Of course,
yeah, sounded like he seriously considered it.
yeah, I was surprised that he stepped down but didn't announce that he was running for Senate. I did not figure it would go like that. I figured coach or Senate.
Same here. That's the way I looked at it.
So essentially, your answer to my original question is no, it's just you, and that's fine. The the Alabama Farmers Federation didn't
Right.
bother to wait on all these sports figures to make up their mind, and went ahead and released its endorsements. You want to talk a little bit about that race and whether that matters?
Sure. They endorsed the Farmers Federation endorsed Steve Marshall in the Senate race, and
Hmm.
yeah, I think it matters. I think we get press releases every day about endorsements. I think most of them do not matter, but I think that one matters. They're just they're an influential organization. They got a lot of money, and they've been doing this a long time, and they've got chapters in every county. So I think it matters, and I think it shows that Marshall, they don't just hand you that. I think you have to work to get that. So I think it helps. It makes a difference.
Is that more because the members will vote with them, or you think the Alabama Farmers Federation just has a loud enough voice that people will hear?
I think they have a loud voice. They have they have money, and I think they have influence on the local level to some extent. And as I said, I think it's a sign that you've got a active campaign when you get their endorsement, that you've worked for it, that you've connected with people, and made the effort to get it. And I'm not saying it's the determining factor, but it's maybe the most important endorsement that you can get in Alabama,
Okay.
except from a Donald Trump endorsement.
Right. Well, I've kind of gone back and forth on that one. People like Donald Trump here. I'm not sure how much they just go with his endorsement because sometimes it changes to the more popular candidate. We've seen that happen.
Yeah, he endorsed Mo Brooks for the Senate, and then flipped and endorsed Katie Britt after Britt was way ahead in the polls.
Hey, well, he figured out how to win, and that's. I'll let you tell us a little bit on another recent story you had. Um, we might see another court-ordered redistricting. It sounds like.
Yes, very similar to the congressional redistricting, just on a much smaller scale. People remember the legislature had to redraw the state's congressional districts before the 2024 election, and they did so, but they didn't do it the way the court instructed them. So the court wound up redrawing it and redrawing the districts, and that resulted in second black U.S. representative from Alabama and the second Democrat out of our 7-member delegation, Shamari Figures, representing the second district. And so there was also, along at the same time, there was a lawsuit over the state Senate districts, and I think it was the same groups sued and claimed that the state Senate districts in the Huntsville area and the Montgomery area were drawn to dilute the influence of black voters, that they packed too many black voters into one district. And the judge, who was one of the judges in the other case, the congressional district case, she ruled. She had a hearing and took all kinds of evidence and everything, and she ruled that the Huntsville districts were okay. They did not violate the Voting Rights Act, but the Montgomery districts, and there's 2 Senate districts in Montgomery, they did violate the Voting Rights Act. There's 2 Senate districts in Montgomery. One's represented by a white Republican, the other by a black Democrat. And her ruling is that the map packs too many black voters into the one majority black district, and so they've got to redraw it. Well, the judge, Judge Manasco, who's a Trump appointee, by the way, Anna Manasco, but she gave the legislature the first chance to redraw it. This was just in the last couple of weeks, and Governor Ivey, who would have to call a special session for that to happen, announced, we're not going to do that. Her reasoning was it's so confusing or convoluted that it would be almost impossible to get it right. So they're going to just let the court do it. So I think it's going to be the same team that drew the map for the congressional district. So Montgomery will have there'll be a new Senate district map for the Montgomery area.
And the likely result of this is that the Republicans will lose a seat in the Senate.
Yes, I would think so. Yeah. But it's not definite because it'll probably be a competitive district.
Uh-huh.
Like the race in the second congressional district, the redrawn district, it was competitive. I don't remember the percentages, but the Republican Caroline Dobson, she got over 40% of the vote, I think. So, but yeah, it could very well result in a second Democrat or black senator representing Montgomery, whereas now you have one black, one white, one Republican, one Democrat.
Off the top of your head, do you know the majority that the GOP has in the Senate?
27-8.
Okay, so they'll still be okay, is what you're saying. GOP will be all right.
Yeah, it's not going to change the balance of power in the state Senate.
What else is going on?
Well, the legislature doesn't go into session until January, but they're gearing up. Some of those guys work a lot year round, and they're having they've had some budget hearings, and today they have contract review meetings, and so there's always a lot going on. And of course, all the elections coming up, primaries in May, and those races are getting into high gear. The Attorney General's race is going to be a real intense race. You've got three strong Republican candidates running for Attorney General. Steve Marshall's running for the Senate, and so we're going to have a new attorney general for the first time in almost 10 years. So that's going to be probably the most heated race. Tommy Tuberville, as you mentioned, is running for governor, and he doesn't have any real serious opposition. So that's not going to be very interesting.
I mean, unless Nick Saban announces that he's going to run for governor or something. I mean, they have until early January, I think, to file.
Yeah. The qualifying date is in January when they have to officially qualify with the party.
Okay. Who's in that AG race?
Okay, you got Jay Mitchell, who resigned from the state Supreme Court to run. I think he was in his second term on the state Supreme Court. He's a guy from Homewood. He played basketball at Birmingham Southern. Very conservative. Catherine Robertson, who's been Steve Marshall's chief counsel in the state AG's office since Marshall was AG. And then Pamela Casey, who's district attorney in Blount County in her third term. She's well over a decade. She's been district attorney in Blount County. So you got three strong candidates, and most of the news stories so far have been about disagreements over who they're taking money from. Mitchell has been very critical of some of the campaign funding that Robertson has received.
What do you think the big topic is going to be in the legislative session next year?
I'm sure gambling will come up. I guess it would be unlikely they would pass a gambling bill in an election year. At least that's the conventional wisdom, that they'll stay away from that.
Don Jr. addressed it on Twitter, so who knows?
Oh yeah, he was critical of Alabama for not having legal sports betting. Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me. It's always good to hear your good questions and be on the show.
It's always fun. We'll get you back in here when we get around session time. I know you get real busy, but I try to make you spare a half hour here or there.
Okay. At some point, the governor will lay out what she wants to accomplish, so that has a lot of influence.
Yeah. We'll look forward to that as always. Thanks for doing this.
Okay, appreciate it, Ike.
And thanks everybody out there for listening to us. Hey, if you haven't yet, leave a rating on whatever app you use to get your podcast. We really appreciate it. That's supposed to help us a lot. We're going to be back here bright and early Monday morning. Until then, y'all come by anytime you want to and see what we're working on the internet at al.com.